Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended clip.
Okay, I'm going to clap so that we have like a
we don't need to do that, actually.
You don't need to do that?
No, because I have the Zoom recording, and that is how I sync it.
Whoa.
Okay.
See,
All right, cool.
I long find the podcast slate clap to be embarrassing and unnecessary.
It's a humiliation ritual.
I think it's charming. I think it's a little analog charm. I think it's a little DIY.
Trying to get Tinkerbell to come back to life or something? Come on.
It's like a football huddle, and then everyone claps. It's like go team. You know?
That's so true.
Like,
it's teamwork.
Oh, it is football. Wow, football. Transition. Welcome to Extended Clip. It's episode 331, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And football season is upon us. We are talking about Any Given Sunday this week. I guess because football season's starting next Sunday. I didn't even realize how perfectly that lined up. But we are joined by special guests, returning champions, the hosts of A Closer Look podcast, Nate Fisher and Will Sennett. Welcome back to the show, fellas.
Yo.
Oh, is there a sports ball happening? I'll see myself out.
Yeah, Nate crashed into the Zoom just like yapping about the Young Turks, just like dropping
Yeah, I thought I was
knowledge
here. I thought I was here to talk about turn of the century European history, not men doing a homoerotic dance to sublimate their desires for one another, which we all know sports ball to be, and it's also an ad for the military. Okay.
Oh wow. Well, you're going to be upset that we're going to, in addition to the movie, we're doing a 30-team preview for each NFL team, going to predict how the season's going to go. And
Jaguars over. Hammer the Jaguars over.
Whoa.
The Jags are hot this year.
I'm kind of into that. I think that's the Money Malcolm segment too of the week too. Over on Jaguars.
What's their over under? Like 7? 7 wins?
Probably something like that. I don't know.
Let me check that.
Yeah, we could figure that out. But yeah, so this week we are talking about a football movie made by Oliver Stone. You know, after he made his 90s American history epics, flying in the face of conventional wisdom about the topics, he's like, you know, let me break down another American institution for you, not just the office of the presidency like JFK and Nixon, but the Church of America, if you will, football in the National Football League. But the NFL said no, thank you. It's pretty funny that he was like able to get by like doing all these movies about like JFK and Nixon and, you know, deeply inflammatory stuff like the JFK movie just being like, yeah, he got killed by the gay mafia, whatever, and it's like the biggest movie ever. And then the NFL was like, you cannot use real NFL teams in this movie.
If he tried to make a movie about Deflategate, he would have gotten shot, I think. I think that's what gets him the heart attack gun.
So, Will, you were the one that selected Any Given Sunday for this podcast. What was the general thought behind that? Why did you want to bring this film to the pod? Why did you want Nate to watch it?
Well, I never get to pick the movie. Nate always picks the movie, and I always end up watching something I think I'm going to hate and that I end up really enjoying, and that makes me more intelligent and a more complete man. And so I tried to pick the movie that I knew Nate had a blind spot on that would further complete him as a man. And I know he's a big Stone guy, and I knew he was avoiding Any Given Sunday at all costs. And so I knew this was my chance with the new season of our podcast kind of being all about sports. They're all 30 for 30s about sports. And football season coming up. I knew I had him right where I wanted him.
Yeah, I could not come up with a clever enough excuse besides faking illness to not watch the movie. and he finally sat me down and got me to watch it. And let's be real with you guys here. I'm not a lover of football. I love sports, but this one I don't enjoy. And also, Oliver Stone, you know what I mean? But I don't know who wants to start by talking about how good this movie is, because I fucking loved it. It's amazing.
It's fucking amazing.
I am glad to hear that. I watched this movie about 6 months ago, and I thought it was okay. And I watched it again about a week ago, and I like it. I don't love it, but I definitely like it. I can attest to Nate not being a football guy. We were in New England working on the movie EFIS a couple years back in the fall during football season on a Sunday, and Nate requested that NASCAR be shown on the TV instead of the Patriots game, despite the fact that we were in Massachusetts on a Sunday.
There were
that
other people in the bar that were interested in seeing the race as well. They had there was a thing. They had a doohickey on the wall that was racing themed. So this sports bar will make. I didn't say all their TVs. I said one. I'm not a fascist. You can watch whatever you want. Just break me off a piece. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess that is the function of a sports bar, right? You know, you have multiple TVs, so, you know, you could put other stuff on. But
yeah,
that's right. There's got to be one guy in the corner watching an Indonesian horse race. You know what I mean? Like they got to have something for everybody. It's when you're it's like the last true space where free expression and creativity are valued in this country is Buffalo Wild Wings in Glendale.
Speaking of football, let's cycle back real quick to the Jaguars. The over or under for this season is 8.5 wins. I'm not going over on that. I don't know. I don't have the faith. I don't have the faith. I thought it was like a sub 500 line, and I don't like.
They
that
play in
line.
a terrible division, guys. They're gonna their team's gonna roll over for them.
I think
Lawrence is a sneaky MVP pick. I think he's due for a massive step forward after regression last year. I don't believe in the rest of that division. I don't believe in the Colts. I think Anthony Richardson's a fraud. Is that the division they're in?
Yeah. What about the Texans?
Titans? Yeah.
Texans look nice. I like the Texans.
I made that division thing up.
I do like the Texans
because I thought it sounded good. Is it possibly true?
It is true that they're in a weak division.
Oh, let's go! Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a sneakily good division. That's my NFL preview. So I'm zagging.
I think their quarterback needs a haircut, if you ask me.
Oh boy.
No, he doesn't need to change anything. He's sexy as hell. I just love looking at him.
Throwing it over to my co-hosts, JT, Malcolm. Had you guys seen Any Given Sunday before?
No, I don't know. I would say I agree with Nate, like where football is probably in like tiers of enjoyment I get from sports. Football is at the lower end. I don't know. This year I am excited. I want to try and break myself, get a little bit more into it. But I definitely grew up around it a lot. My dad was like a high school football coach. So like
I did not know that about you.
Yeah, no, he coached like football, basketball. He did like track announcing. So I was a major disappointment.
Thought daughter or movie son.
The fact that you weren't his offensive coordinator, it seems to me like wrong. I feel like every coach, the offensive coordinator is just their son for some reason.
I mean, well, there's still hope now that it's sparking within me. I think we could make a real turnaround here, even though he doesn't really coach anymore. But the locker room antics here are kind of what I enjoyed the most about Any Given Sunday. And I mean, I think I would probably say I felt similarly to Eddie and Malcolm about the movie, where it's like I lightly like this. There are a lot of fun antics, but it's way too long at points. I don't know. I would like to get the theatrical cut. Someone to fucking rain Stone in, because there's a lot of stuff that bored me a little bit. But again, like the image that I feel like I'm most that enriched me as a man by seeing is the football player rushing to take a shit because of almost shitting his pants in here. And it, like, I don't know why these two are linked, but, like, I don't know. The locker room stuff, coaches giving speeches. I remember, like, my dad, because he was just coaching, like, high school level.
Yeah.
But he was giving an inspirational speech one time that, like, I was, like, I don't know, like, maybe eight or 10, like, here, just, like, listening to him, like, telling a bunch of, like, 16-year-olds. And he was talking about, like, the prison riots that had happened in the 80s, like, outside of my hometown, to, like, that one of his friends was, like, an officer there at the time.
Sure.
And just, like, thinking, like, I don't know, that awakened that memory in me and being, like, just a hilarious thing to, like, instill the fear of God into a bunch of children with, but yeah, I don't know. The movie was fine.
It's good to use current events to motivate children. I think that's a really good technique. Just to be like Al Pacino, like, you know, when the towers fell.
Just learning that JT's dad was the high school football coach is just blowing my mind right now. I mean, that's like a built-in sitcom dynamic right there where, like, he's the high school football coach and his kids at school, like, rushing home to watch Jean Renoir movies.
I was the Bobby Hill. I was the Bobby Hill, but instead of prop comedy, it was Godard.
Yeah.
Well, no, there is that one episode where they rent French movies from the Blockbuster, and Bobby's like, Etienne and Claude are breaking up because Etienne has malaise. And I was like, oh my God, there I am. It's me.
That's a good Bobby. That was a good Bobby.
Give me a few minutes. I can get that. I can make that better.
Okay, yeah. We're getting back to him throughout the.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking the rest of the episode and just be in the corner.
Yeah, just do Bobby.
Just the whole time.
I'd never seen this movie, but I do consider myself a Stone fan. I kind of like him. Like, I don't know. I kind of like him, flaws and all. Like, I kind of like the messiness of his movies, and kind of, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't take that away from him. I feel like it kind of makes him unique. And, like, this one is kind of, I mean, it's a whole jumble of stuff. Like, it's such a large cast. It's so long. I think I like it a little bit more than just liking it. I think, like, because there's a lot of moments, like, I'm pretty enthralled by this movie at times. Like, especially, you know, there's a lot of things, but, like, its visual style, but also, like, the soundtrack drops are just insane. Like, I've never seen a movie really shuffle on the playlist like this movie does. So many different genres and, like, just really, really choice cuts. I feel like it uses them very well. A lot of, like, iconic music moments in this movie. And, yeah, I guess it's a pretty easy criticism, but it does feel like too much. Like, it is, like, maybe it being condensed down more, it would be a little bit more effective. But there's just, like, you know, it's, even if there's, like, some parts of the movie I don't like, there's just so much to enjoy here. There's so much meat on the bone that it's you know, I feel like you don't get the good stuff without the messy stuff involved. Like, you can't really separate it. So, you know, maybe I'm not so in, you know, maybe the fifth scene in a row with Cameron Diaz, you know, kind of, you know, giving it the hardscrabble business. Maybe I'm not as into it, but it's okay, because I feel like that's, you know, you get your reward soon after, usually in some other way.
And I think the maximalist approach to this movie, because it is just going 300 miles an hour the entire time with insane camera movements and special effects and editing, and every single performance is at 11 out of 10 the entire time. And as you said, the cast is like the deepest bench of all time, to the point where Tom Sizemore was in this movie and got cut out. Like, there was an entire Tom Sizemore character that is not in the final cut of the movie. The director's cut is fucking 2 hours and 50 minutes, and you couldn't squeeze Tom Sizemore into it? That's fucking crazy. But it makes sense, because that's what Sundays are. It's like, fucking, if you're on Pacific time, that is 10 a.m. to about 8 p.m. of watching beer commercials and football. Just, like, the most over-the-top ridiculous shit forever for so long and just eating yourself into a coma, ordering pizzas and wings, just chugging beers or sodas, whichever you please. And I think that like there's a good representation there of the tradition of Sunday being this like just overstuffed day for half of the year for America. And you know, I lived it too hard, I think. Like I rewatched this movie at like fucking 7 a.m. right when I woke up, you know, and I was just like, this is too much. I need to go back to sleep. I think that's why I didn't take to it as much. As like both times I've watched this movie, I have hit play no later than 8 a.m. And I think that's just like
that's
horrible
that's the
decision.
This is a movie that you have to watch sort of drunk, I think is the best way. Because that's what me and Nate both had like 2 gin and tonics right before.
Yeah.
And then by minute 10 we're both standing up with our shirts off, touching each other's foreheads. It's kind of the only way you can ingest, like you said, like the maximalism and like, you know, I don't want to give, you were saying earlier about like there's good stuff and then there's such kind of like, you know, a lull and then you get right to another good thing and then a lull and then right to another good thing. And how I think it would be, you know, the movie would have flowed nicer if those, you know, lulls were shorter and fewer in between. But I mean, and I'm not giving Stone this much credit, but I do think like it does kind of like mirror like a football game, you know, kind of itself. You know, it's action, everything's happening, pads flying, people, you know, crying, you know, bang, everything. And we're going to go watch, you know, 3 minutes of Cheez-Its commercials. And then, you know, you go right back and then it's the same thing. It's sort of the up and down of football, I think, was kind of like mirrored in this movie in a cool and I don't think entirely intentional way.
Yeah, the way he shoots this movie, I mean, like we can't it's indescribable how different every single shot in the movie is than the one that came before it. Like in a channel surfy kind of way. It really feels like he tries to use camera angles and types of shots where if he doesn't use it, they'll take it away from him forever. So he's like, I got to use every single type of shot at least once or they won't let me use it. Which is kind of true, you know, like he couldn't get away with making a movie that looked like that today. The bosses wouldn't have it. The public wouldn't have it. They wouldn't allow that kind of thing. I personally think that you have to, it's your job as a viewer to ignore all the parts of it that are bad and just focus on the parts that are good. Because life is too painful. You really have to just focus on all the stuff that's good.
I think you can tap into like the sort of concussion vision that you see at points in the movie where it's just there the flashbacks and you could just...
They way overdo that. They way over... There's about like 25 different moments where a character is hallucinating. And and half the time they're hallucinating like old footage of like black and white football where it's like
Native Americans.
It's the very like my girlfriend was like, it's a very like the boomer thing where you hallucinate in Ken Burns sepia tones, you know, like, where it's like that is about as boomer as it gets. I mean, the best one is when like is there's like this sort of like beautiful like layering, almost like Godardian like multi-textured shot, and it's Al Pacino's face. And then just most of a football fades into the frame. Like 2/3 of the frame is just not all of a football, most of a football.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting ready to eat it, kind of.
Yeah. It's like that football is telling him that like that they have to get divorced in a Bergman movie. It's like that. Like it's like the football is saying it's like you only inspire sadness in me. And then they just stare past each other by the shore. Him and the football.
I like the concussion flashbacks being like old people. I'm like, how am I supposed to like even interpret that? It's just like the history of the game weighing so heavy on like these players or whatever. It's like, who gives a fuck about like football fans from the 1950s, I guess.
Yeah, if there's anything that football fans love, it's watching highlights of games from the 60s, from like Super Bowl 5. No one gives a shit about that. They don't play
Bart
those on
Starr?
TV.
Who the
Yeah,
fuck is
exactly.
Bart
Yeah,
Starr?
Fran Tarkington and stuff,
I know. I ring in every start of football season by rewatching Leatherheads.
Yeah.
That's where I go.
I think a lot of that flashback stuff, and I think they kind of touched on it with like the only scene where Pacino is like actually happy is the one scene where he's talking to the dead owner's wife, and they're like just cracking up talking about stories of the past. And I think like a lot of that is like people like, especially like that generation of football fans, they have such like this starry-eyed nostalgia about like, like the 60s where, men were men and, your head hurt, you got back out there, guys, breaking their fingers and popping them back into their sockets. But it's like football was always like a nightmarishly violent game where people were getting incredibly hurt and it was ruining their lives. But with that sort of, the rose glasses or whatever the hell, I think a lot of that gets, I think that's kind of what the movie was about, forgetting, the second 10 years after something happens, you forget all about it and think it was the greatest thing that ever happened.
I think the funniest like expressionist kind of hallucination touch in this movie is when they just put animal sounds coming out of Al Pacino's mouth, like when Al Pacino's in slow-mo and you just have like a tiger roaring as he's breathing. Just so ridiculous.
This movie has a very special version of Al Pacino,
Yeah.
which I think we should probably talk about, because this is in the middle of we got to decide whether this is like middle-aged yelling Al Pacino or elderly Al Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like almost on that line because they're very much different modes. Like we were rewatching Ocean's 13 last night, and that's sort of the sort of the full arrival of elderly Pacino, where he can't really yell the way he could before, but he also can't whisper. So he's only ever really at one volume the whole time. And in this one, he can still kind of yell and still kind of whisper, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is definitely at like the tail end of loud Pacino, because if you just think about Pacino in the 90s, that's what you're thinking about, is screaming Pacino. But I think that also the fact that he's supposed to be this like old seasoned vet, the sense of aging in this movie is so strange to me, where you have all these like old Hall of Famers as his contemporaries, as the other coaches, like Warren Moon and stuff like that. And then you also have Lawrence Taylor just on the team still. And then you have Quaid as the quarterback, looking older than anyone who's ever played professional sports.
He looks like Reagan. He looks like Ronald Reagan.
Out in theaters now. He kind of, for some reason, I couldn't help but think of Drew Brees. Like I could, for some reason, I guess it's because he's like Southern or whatever. But it is. I feel like, because obviously, like 90s Pacino is super loud, and it's kind of like almost a money idea. It's like, what's a great role where there's screaming involved? Football coach, he's got to hype up the guys. But I feel like obviously there's some speeches at the end that really like hammer home. But at first I was kind of like just thinking of Pacino as a football coach. It's like kind of funny in a way, because he is like very like thespian. Like I feel like I never get like jock sport stuff from Pacino usually. Like, and he fits the role pretty well, but like it is like of course there has to be other aspects of him where there's like 45 minutes of him just chilling at a bar and like having sex with prostitutes and just being like exemplifying like the genre of adult contemporary,
that scene with him when he meets Elizabeth Berkley at the bar is kind of shot like exactly like the Heat scene where he's like reading the book De Niro's reading the book about metals, but it's just, instead of a lady just going, hey, look, I'll blow you for $1,000. It's not quite as romantic in the Oliver Stone universe.
No, it is like, I just love all the stuff of like kind of like the hotel music and like him like drinking in the hotel. Like I feel like late 90s was like peak for adult contemporary. Like I think of like that and like the Thomas Crown affair. I don't know, like people in their 50s having sex and stuff like that. I feel like you get a good chunk of that in this movie that you didn't really like expect. A lot of like, yeah, that type of stuff.
I'm looking at Al Pacino credits trying to figure out like when he transitions from one period to another. And I think that his performance in Angels in America is definitely like similar to this, but on the other end of the spectrum of type of guy that he is. But have you guys ever heard of the movie Chinese Coffee? That's the movie he made directly after this.
I am
Coffee.
seated for whatever plot that is.
That is his directorial effort, Chinese Coffee.
Oh my.
So that is like, I definitely, just imagining Al Pacino saying the phrase Chinese coffee in a pitch meeting with an executive. I don't want any
coffee. I want a Chinese coffee.
That is how that movie gets made. Also, one weird thing about this movie is, so, you know, the fact that the NFL doesn't allow them to use the trademark logos and everything puts this in this weird nightmare vision of America where I think there might be two leagues going on, because they talk about the Dolphins in that first game. They're like, you know, across town, the Dolphins are doing this. You guys aren't bringing in any money. They mention the Dolphins multiple times. And then when they show the list of their schedule and the teams, the Miami Dolphins are nowhere to be found. There's no other Dolphins team. So I think that this is like the version of the world where the XFL or something like that took off and was just accepted as a real thing, because it just makes me laugh every time they talk about it. Like the Super Bowl, and this is called the Pantheon Cup, which is hilarious. And it's just like, oh yeah, the Pantheon Cup, you know? And I just find it so off-putting and weird, and like the team names are so ridiculous. Like the
They're
Orlando
awesome. They're
Crushers,
so good.
the Wisconsin Icemen. Yeah, I wanted to get your guys' take on that as sports fiction writers on your podcast. Like, what did you think about the fake sports teams in the league, all the naming and whatnot?
All right,
I mean, the Dallas team. Nick, go ahead. The Dallas team they play at the end. Their uniforms and their logo is absolutely fucking amazing.
It's so funny. It looks like they have a cross hanging from their uniform, kind of. Like, it's so weird. It seems like the kind of thing you can't make on a Madden create your team. Like, you really want to make a team on Madden or a college and NCAA that has that, and it just doesn't let you do it, you know?
I think that this is an absolute just slam dunk after slam dunk name. I'm going to go through a few of my favorites. Really like the Seattle Prospects. Love that one.
Yes.
The Seattle, maybe. They could be good. We don't know. That's a good one. Minnesota Americans, love it. Just no thought. There's always going to be like a sports team that really overthinks their name, and then one that's like, gee, what's outside? I don't know. Oh, the flag. Nice. And then they got the New York Emperors. That's awesome.
Yes.
I think that's really good. Which one's the team where they have like Lord Farquaad riding around on a donkey before the game? There's like a scene where
Is that
just
the
like
Knights?
Yeah, that's the Dallas Knights. Yeah.
No, that's a different team. There's the California Crusaders.
Crusaders.
That's sick. That's really cool. It's also like it's like Renaissance Fair, which is like really very different aesthetics from what like the Kingdom of Heaven sort of thing that the Crusades connotes. They're just very different flavors of, you know, guys in puffy shorts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I remember it triggered a memory of mine playing Madden in high school, because my high school, weirdly enough, so I went to Grover Cleveland High School, and they were so unoriginal that the high school was the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was our team, like the basketball team.
But they're named after Grover Cleveland, though. That's really good.
That's so cool.
The Grover Cleveland Cavaliers.
So I remember in Madden making a football team that was the Cleveland Cavaliers and having like a little knight as the logo.
That's
Fun fact about Grover Cleveland: his nickname was Uncle Jumbo.
That's a guy I'd vote for sure, Uncle Jim.
Well, he did it twice. He won twice.
We need a jolly fat guy to be president again. You know?
He was very fat. He was quite large. Overshadowed by Taft, but he was up there.
Sure, Taft had the tub
He
allegations.
also had jaw cancer from overconsumption of cigars, and he had to have part of his jaw removed. And because the screams would be so loud from his pain, they did it on a boat on the Potomac, if I remember correctly.
Just so the screams don't bother anyone.
Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
I think Roger Ebert got it the Michael Douglas way, though.
Yeah, when you said jaw, I thought he's got jaw cancer from eating too much, from moving.
Yeah,
his mouth.
Roger Ebert got it. Roger Ebert got it from sucking on irradiated titties on the set of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, like it was the John Wayne Genghis Khan movie.
If you get sick from that, like 40 years later, you have to be like, you know what? It was worth it. It was fun. It made me who it was.
Worth it. Yeah, made me the man I am today. It's Hollywood history.
You know, I couldn't help but think of, like, in my mind, anytime I hear a fake team names, and I know this is a real team name, I always think of the Shanghai Sharks. Like, in my head, I'm like, one of the football teams is called the Shanghai Sharks. I don't know.
Well, they are the Sharks in this. They're the Miami Sharks. Yeah,
that's why
the main
Shanghai
guys.
Sharks.
Yeah, exactly. So for those who don't know what this movie is and think that this is just like a really half-baked episode of A Closer Look where we're naming fake sports teams, this is Oliver Stone's 1999 football expose where Al Pacino is the head coach of the Sharks. And, there is it. Sorry, I always get it confused. Dennis or Randy Quaid?
Dennis.
Dennis Quaid.
Randy's the goofy one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's Brett Favre. It's amazing.
Quaid is their fucking geriatric quarterback who gets injured, and then I like how the second string quarterback just gets injured so quickly that we never see him again. It's just like, all right, there was also a second string quarterback, so we get third string quarterback Jamie Foxx, who has to lead this struggling team into the playoffs as the Josh Dobbs of the Oliver Stone universe, if you will. He's just bounced around teams. And he's so crazy, he's throwing up before games and everything. And Al Pacino has to do battle with the ownership represented by Cameron Diaz, who I guess was just stayed in Miami after There's Something About Mary and shot this like a few months later probably. And for some reason, like just the way the performances are pitched in this movie, I feel like she's more believable as a football knower in There's Something About Mary than she is in this one. Like when she talks about Joe Montana in that movie, but that's just the Fairly magic right there,
It's just probably worth noting that the ladies in this movie, they don't get a lot to do, and they don't get a lot of help. You know what I mean? It's a movie for the fellas. And I mean that in all of its negative connotations as well.
Yeah, they threw her out there against Pacino a lot, and to just get her ass kicked, it was borderline not cool. I mean, she never really stood a chance. The best, I feel like the other two performances is Dennis Quaid's wife, Dennis Quaid's abusive wife, who forces him to play football even though he's dying. She was great.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like a Klaus Kinski type of role, where if she just an evil lady screaming at the top of her lungs, it's kind of hard to do that badly when it's just written that much like a newspaper cartoon villain. You know what I mean? She's like over the top. It is good. It is good.
It was funny to see him get abused by his wife.
Yeah, and speaking of Something About Mary, that is Mary Swanson from Dumb and Dumber. Is fucking Dennis Quaid's wife. So this is just like a Farrelly Brothers reunion victory lap. Like Oliver Stone was just chilling watching Comedy Central, and he's like, I want that one, I want that one. The cast goes so much deeper too. I mean, the football team is a weird mix of actors and former players. As we said earlier, Lawrence Taylor, like 9 years out of retirement after he had been inducted into the Hall of Fame already, is on the team. And I think, when you watch his performance, it's like, oh, he could not play a coach. Like, there's no way he could have played a coach in this movie. So they had to make him like the old linebacker that's buddies with Dennis Quaid.
So I didn't know who that was when the movie started, and Will kind of explained it to me. Can we explain who Lawrence Taylor is in film terms?
I mean, he's kind of the Abel Ferrara of linebackers in that he's like, for a short period in the, I guess, 80s, was the most psycho, like best at his position, and also had a crack problem. Right. I guess he's the Abel Ferrara of linebackers. Yeah.
Abel Ferrara is the GOAT too, but it isn't like, don't people consider Taylor the best of all time, best defensive player of all time? Is that a common opinion?
Easily the best linebacker. Yeah, definitely up there. I feel like the crack thing kind of soured people on like his legacy.
But you have to be on crack to like be a linebacker with that much energy, you know, taking that many hits. Like at least he wasn't on like speedballs or whatever, you know. But I think he's the only. Is he the only defensive player to win MVP?
Did JJ Watt do that? No, I don't know.
Maybe, but at least up to this point, there's a good chance he was the only one. Yeah. So you have him, and then you also have the Lawrence Taylor of acting, James Woods, in this movie. And I love the dynamic of James Woods and Matthew Modine.
Yeah.
It's like the woke doctor versus the conservative doctor, you know?
I'm worried about Cap. He's losing ankle strength. And
well, what did you do? You examined him?
Yeah.
Ollie, you are actually one of the few relatives that I can stomach, but you're the internist. I'm the orthopedist, remember? Bone, muscle, joint, me. Runny nose, diarrhea, gonorrhea, pink eye. You. Got it? Thanks.
So much good James Woods stuff in this. You know, I like the football gameplay in this movie. I feel like it's very good, but then like, you know, they do that stuff where it's like kind of overactive. Like I love when like they just cut to James Woods on the sideline just like talking to a girl or something like that. Like it's so funny just to like include like just all this mania going on, and then you just cut to see what James Woods is up to, which is, I mean, to be honest, I need that in every movie. Kind of
there's some great cutting. There's some great cutting where like somebody will just get this horrible like bone crunching injury, and then it'll cut to James Woods like licking his lips, going, I love that.
I love when people get injured as a doctor.
The fact that James Woods being like the lead doctor on the team, just like flirting with cheerleaders on the sideline throughout the movie is so fucking funny. Like that would be instant firing, you know, but this movie's not about reality.
Fun fact, that was actually BTS footage that they left in the final cut. The camera was just on and it happened.
Also, a fun fact, if you will, the casting of Jamie Foxx in this, like he was much like the third string quarterback, he was like the fifth option for this, and people kept dropping out because they couldn't convincingly throw a football. Like I guess Diddy was cast in the role, locked to go. Can you imagine if fucking Diddy was in this movie? That would be unwatchable.
Also, he's like small as hell. Like he's
very unathletic.
Yeah,
and apparently could not throw a football to save his fucking life. Like just looked like a horrible attempt at throwing a football. So that's awesome. But yeah, the mix of like actors and real players, like you have fucking young Terrell Owens on the team just as himself, like his jersey says Owens. It's like, okay, Terrell Owens, there we go. And the other Y is like, he's the Y and the X is Bill Bellamy of all people.
Bill Bellamy, inventor of the term booty call.
And who could forget LL Cool J as the running back too?
Of course, yeah. Bill Bellamy, by the way, generous tipper. Used to be a regular at a sushi restaurant I worked at. Came in with his lady all the time and was always very nice to me. And I was like, you know what? Bill Bellamy, you're all right in my books.
He rules. I watched him crush. I watched him absolutely murder a room just at the Brea Improv. It was great.
So if you want to see Bill Bellamy, you know, haunt some comedy clubs or just hang out in Encino, you might see him at a sushi bar, you know.
You know who else turned down the role of Willie Beeman was Chris Tucker.
Yes.
Okay.
Would have been
now that's a different movie, dude.
Who the fuck was the casting director in this movie? Like, those are two awful fucking ideas. Diddy and Chris Tucker.
Diddy and Chris Tucker.
I mean, this movie was a shit show from the start. That's why it's so all over the place and feels like, if it feels like three different movies, it's because it literally is. This was 3 different scripts that Oliver Stone bought the rights to and had someone amalgamate into one script.
That's so funny.
He made a mega script. That's amazing.
Every big budget movie theoretically should be a mega script. Just like get 3 movies and make them into one crazy movie.
All right, I got one of the Lord of the Rings movies. I got one of the Star Wars movies. And I got Jaws.
Yes.
And we're going to stick them together.
Aaron Eckhart is very Gruden-esque as the offensive coordinator, to where each time I've watched this, I was like, is that John Gruden? Like, I really had to do a double take, Eckhart basically doing what he does in every movie, but just putting the headset on. I'm just like, oh, that's the guy I always see on TV as like a quarterback guru, He's quite good in this, but like not as over the top as everybody else. One of the most over the top performances in this, though, is John C. McGinley. The sports reporter, kind of Jim Rome type dude.
Jerry Jim Rome, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Rome, like best damn sports show period era. Like just going so crazy. The worst haircut of all time. Like it looks like if you combined all of our hair in this Zoom and then just like minus 75% though. Like it's just so weird.
Yeah, it's barely hanging on. It's like a really glued down Hitler cut. It's crazy.
Emphasis on the glue for sure.
Yeah, he's great. You left out Elizabeth Berkley as the prostitute that Al Pacino falls in love with, which really clued me into the fact. And one of the things that I can't stop thinking about, that like start thinking about halfway through the movie, is this movie is the same plot as Showgirls. Yeah. This movie is about a old in charge person leading the show that gets all about Eved by the young, hot up and comer that's too big for their britches, and it really is very, in the way that Showgirls is very like, I guess, female coded. This is much more guy coded, where it's also about insane boomer fixation on guys from the past that you're supposed to look up to and not. But other than that, the Showgirls parallels are all over this movie. It looks the same. It feels the same. It's got similar levels of excess, similar levels of grotesqueness. The performances are like way over cranked and oversaturated. I think those two movies make like an unbelievable double feature.
And also, if they did some casting swaps, that would make both movies better somehow. Like if Al Pacino and Kyle MacLachlan traded places, or even get like a 3-team trade going, like Al Pacino as the Kyle MacLachlan character in Showgirls, but then Kyle MacLachlan is like the Matthew Modine character in this movie, and then Matthew Modine just kind of floats above Showgirls like a specter. We would all be living a better life.
We need a new coach. Yeah, we need to complete the 3rd-team trade.
Yeah, I think you got to trade. I think you got to trade for Michael Douglas from Basic Instinct somehow, and I think you got to trade, and then also somehow see if you can get Sharon Stone for Cameron Diaz.
Oh, fuck.
You might have to give up a lot. Like you might have to give Lawrence Taylor to Basic Instinct. Not sure where he'd fit in their system, but it's the price you got to pay to get Sharon Stone in the Cameron Diaz role. I think you got to make that trade.
Yeah.
I think if Lawrence Taylor was the Newman role in Basic Instinct, the Wayne Knight role in Basic Instinct, that would be a better movie for sure.
For budget cuts, we got the 3rd person in the trade actually has to be Zachary Quinto in the movie, where he played Kurt Warner. I forgot what that's called. It has like American in the title, but I went to see that. Or Zachary Levi. Zachary
Levy, not Zachary Quinto. That would be even better. But
yeah.
What was that like? Not American Made. That's a Tom Cruise movie. The Kurt Warner movie, which I can't believe was released in theaters,
American
let alone
American Sniper.
Now that's even better.
American Underdog.
Kurt Warner in American Sniper. Now we are true. He goes from bagging groceries, a tale as old as time, and he sees the Iraq War happen. He's like, I gotta play football and snipe some motherfuckers.
Oh, he's hanging out on the roof of the Superdome, all right.
But yeah, so like, Willie Beeman, the Jamie Foxx character, he comes around, has some success, and it immediately goes to his head. Like, you really only see him have one good game, and then he immediately is just like the god of football in his own mind, which is pretty funny. And I love how Stone demonstrates that through a music video that he does.
That's right. Come on. You know my name. Come on. My name is Willie. Baby. I keep the ladies creaming, and all my fans got screaming. You can defeat me.
Because this is the era where athletes were first starting to do like novelty rap songs. Like this comes out around the time that Shaq has some rap, has a rap record, and I feel like that's like, some very weak commentary by Oliver Stone there. I mean, it goes as far as to like, when he's starting to get in his own head. You have a great scene on the airplane where Pacino goes up to Jamie Foxx and he's like, what are you listening to? And he's like, rap. And he's like, you ever listen to jazz?
I died at that. That was.
He's not just listening to rap; he's listening to Trick Daddy, which is awesome. If you if you haven't seen the album cover of the album he's listening to, is my favorite album cover of all time. It's www.thug.com.
Amazing.
So if you've never seen that album, give it a quick look up. It's real good.
And I think
that is amazing.
That's Miami rap too. So Stone was doing some homework. You might see him as like Pacino. As you black guys should listen to jazz. Instead of this rap music, it's more intelligent. But
I mean, he clearly loves the material. I mean, he did his homework. Like he put himself in as a commentator. Yeah. And he has a great time doing it. He's like the color commentator in the booth for seemingly every game, which is fine. And he like clearly loves the sport of football so much. And you can hear it in his enthusiasm for the commentary. So good choice for this movie, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish Stone cameoed in all of his movies. Like I think that would be a smart move, kind of like Spike Lee used to, Shyamalan. Like, I don't know. I like seeing him. He's a good presence. He's kind of large too. I feel like he kind of has.
He's a big guy. I wonder if he played high school football. I would not be surprised to find that out. Yeah,
tight end. He'd be a great tight end. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, the Willie Beeman rap video is so fucking funny, and Stone presents it with like the most ridiculous late '90s MTV style. Everything's going like infrared camera mode, black and white. It like this weird cross between like an old Hollywood filmmaker and a guy trying to make an MTV hip hop video where you have the women diving into the pool one by one like a Busby Berkeley set piece, but at the same time it's like his version of a current rap video. The other really funny music thing is when they're playing rap in the locker room after, and then the offensive lineman who had to run and take a shit, and first of all, Modine doing the giant mugging when he has to wipe the guy's ass. Fucking amazing. But later on, that guy comes back and drowns out the rap music with Metallica, and I feel like it's like this moment informed fellow podcaster Lex G when he just goes, Metallica rules, Hetfield is God.
Hetfield is God! We need to serve him! He needs to bow down! We're the monsters of rock! That's right,
I love the music video. I think it like totally works. Again, if you put that in Showgirls, it fits. There's a lot of good choreography, a lot of great excess in it. I think it all works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't know, but the more we talk about this movie, the more I enjoy it. And obviously, as I said earlier, watching it at 7 a.m. was just maybe the stupidest. Like, it made me feel concussed. It made me feel like I was just took a helmet to helmet hit for the ages and put on a movie right after, because I'm appreciating it more now in hindsight and conversation. Like the scene where Al Pacino has to tell Jamie Foxx that he's going to bench him for the playoffs, and he just has Ben-Hur playing on TV in one room,
crazy
and then like
yeah.
his other room has 3 TVs stacked on each other, which is what this whole fucking movie feels like. It feels like you're watching 3 separate TVs, let alone a movie culled from 3 different scripts. But yeah, that scene of just like intercutting all the Ben-Hur footage with him telling Fox that he's benched, and then Fox just like busting out the racism card right away, just be like, well, you know who also benched black people. It was just it's such an insane scene, and I love it because then that just like leads right into the playoffs. And like fucking dude, Dennis Quaid learning that he has to start and like getting so just bummed out about it before his wife abuses him is so funny, because he's wearing this giant chef's hat and like a big apron when he's like making burgers for his kids, and Quaid in the chef's hat is one of the best images of this movie. Just so like the amount of effort that it took to shoot that one like 5 seconds of footage, that's a day on set. It's just getting the barbecue scene set up,
Yeah, they got to shoot him in the chef's hat from 30 feet above, from 50 feet away, an extreme close-up where you can see his nose hairs, but the chef's hat always in the shot.
Yeah, I would love to see the shot list for this movie, just for the, like, be like one of those jokes where the scroll keeps on going and going,
exactly.
When you open the scroll,
I mean, I don't know how you compose a shot list for something like this. Yeah, this is like the ultimate ADD filmmaking movie where you just have like 9, as Nate said, he's using every angle, like they're going to take it away from him if he doesn't use it. And the job of editing this must have been truly Herculean. Like that is like in Entourage when they're editing Medellin and Billy Walsh has like 20 guys in a garage editing for him. Like that's not even the start of what this must have been like Thin Red Line times 100, and then so you get that Dallas playoff game, which it's also funny that this film climaxes on them winning a playoff game and then I guess losing in the Super Bowl after that. Like that's just awesome. Like that's just it's an afterthought. It's just you just need one good playoff game. Come on. So you get the famous Inches speech, which truly feels like it's from another movie. Like it's the only time that the movie actually takes a step back and like takes a breath, and it's great. That's Pacino's like coup de grace of the movie, is getting to do that speech and being like the ultimate, Pacino highlight film from the late 90s, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's what I remember, because I saw this movie when I was like a kid, and I remember because I was a little kid who loved football. I love football movies, and I was like, oh, this movie's like, it's like Rudy, Rudy, Remember the Titans, and Any Given Sunday, the 3 best football movies that are all similar to each other. And then, you had like every high school football coach would show you that, that video, try to hype you up, or you'd see YouTube compilations of like Damian Tomlinson juking dudes out to this speech.
Yes.
And it's so, like you said, Eddie, outside of this movie, because the rest of it is almost like, it's indicting football. It's, kind of doing its best to talk about a lot of things that are wrong with the sport. But then I think it is like, it does step back for a moment and is like, football is also fucking sick for all of its flaws. It can do this to people and do this to men. And I think, it's such a cool scene that I think really stands out from the rest of the movie.
It's definitely the type of movie scene that you'd see like in like epic movie scene compilation, or like, a YouTube short with like motivational music behind it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely gonna reach those circuits. But something that like I feel like doesn't really matter as much now, or doesn't hit as hard. It is like this movie's like very critical of football, goes out of its way to like show the concussion shit, and like I guess at the time like there wasn't really a piece of media doing that. Obviously, we all saw Concussion opening weekend starring Will Smith. We all know about the great concussion doctor who found out about it, I guess. I think that's what that movie's about. But
and how important it is to tell the truth.
Yeah, you got to tell the truth. So, but it is like that aspect is like, I bet seeing this in 99, like I bet you were probably kind of impressed by that if you were to see this in 99.
Absolutely. I mean, you had to have been. And it was also the one scene, speaking of the soundtrack and like how, you know, it takes a step back. Apparently the other institution that found themselves unfit to be represented by this was the Canadian post-rock band Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Really?
Oliver Stone wanted them to wanted to use their music for this, and they were just like, no, like, what the fuck, man, we're not gonna let you use our music for this.
Ew,
and it's pretty funny because
exactly.
yeah, like they ended up getting used in movies like within 3 years after that. But the fact that in 99 Oliver Stone was on the Godspeed You tip is pretty funny, because like they weren't really like critically acclaimed on a huge level yet. Like it took a couple years after that. But yeah, I don't know. This is also one where if it's possible to sort YouTube by lowest view count, I would love to just see the depths of people doing this speech into a webcam on YouTube. Like that has just got to be the best thing ever.
Damn, that is, yeah. The number of self-tapes. It's like, all right, I'm 50 years old. I'm a high school football coach in Billings, Montana, and this is my first attempt at acting. I am now going to do this speech. Well, we got it. It's just an Al Pacino impression.
So yeah, that final game is, you know, as dramatic and melodramatic as football in movies gets. Of course, you know, you get like a 50-second drill at the end of it. You get Lawrence Taylor basically dying on the field because we didn't really talk about the medical malpractice subplot running through this. But you know, he wants his bonus for sacks and tackles, and James Woods is going to help him get there. But then Matthew Modine's like, no, dude, you're going to die if you take another helmet to helmet hit, which is pretty insane of a, like, it's a subplot that gets introduced over 2 hours into the movie, which is pretty insane. But yeah, the movie is so maximalist and over the top that it ends with Pacino and Jamie Foxx walking up and down the field after the game's over, and it's a really great shot. It kind of reminds me of that shot in The Color of Money when they get to the tournament at the end, where it's just like you see all of the lighting that's been, you know, used to light these football scenes, and they're the only two under the lights. It's very dramatic and whatnot, and then it cuts to credits, and then forget a post-credits sequence. You just have more info getting exposed, like more exposition during the credits. You just have more and more and more scenes, and this movie just seemingly never ends. And I kind of am starting to appreciate the never-ending quality of it. It feels like I'm still learning more things about Al Pacino's character now, a week later. Like, oh yeah, you know, and he's gonna coach the new expansion team in Albuquerque or whatever.
The Aztecs.
Yes, the Albuquerque Aztecs.
That scene's so funny. Like, that scene seems like a dream that Pacino's character dreams of in the movie, where like he gives this press conference that at the end he's like, but actually I tricked all you guys, and I'm taking Jamie Foxx to the new team, and I'm the man, and all that. Like, it's just like it's like it's such a, I don't know, it's such like a dumb scene. Like, I don't know why it's in this movie. Like, that's trying to like critique football, but it still has to have like Pacino win in the end and walk off like a badass.
Yeah, he's like doing like a Ocean's 11 like switcheroo thing.
He also like disappears in the scene where he's talking to Jamie Foxx at the end before it cuts to credits. In one of the funniest things in this movie, like, it's the classic thing where you stop talking to a guy and like one of them's talking, then he turns around and the other guy's just gone. But the thing is, Pacino would have had to sprint the length of a football field.
They're 60 yards from that tunnel, man. Pacino was moving. You had high hands all the way down. You hear the click-clack of his shoes down the tunnel.
Oh man, yeah, this film is just like, the more I talk about it, the more I appreciate the maximalism and the insistence on Oliver Stone to just like not give a single inch to what viewers might actually want out of a rousing football movie. I mean, it's like a 2 hour and 50-minute indictment of football, but at the same time, as Will was saying, it's like you have those moments where it's like, oh yeah, football is sick though, and that's why we're here in the first place. And I love the fucking eyeball getting gouged out in the final game. Apparently that's one thing that was cut from the director's cut. Like, that's not in the theatrical version. The director's cut, you got to watch it if anything for the eyeball, because a guy's eye falls out and then it just goes into this like Eisenstein montage of all these eyeball signifiers all over the stadium and outside the stadium even. You know, it's just like the most insane fucking Soviet montage shit I've ever seen.
And then for like, the medical staff to be like, get that eyeball out of here. We got a game to play.
They throw it in a little plastic bag.
It was at that moment, 2 hours and 30 minutes into the movie, where I was like, that's a little much. Everything else is fine.
Oh, man. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. This seems like an impossible one to actually give a rating to, but JT, I'm going to start with you. Any final thoughts on this movie and a rating on a scale of 1 to 5 bullets?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5 bullets. I feel like a similar experience to you, where it's just like talking through it. It's just like, I don't know, really making me love it more and more, and being like, wow, why don't I, like, after, like, it's only like 8:40 here, like, I could throw this on, like, pop a beer, like, I could make, like, I could get pretty deep into this movie. But yeah, I don't know, it's just, it's so insane, and no one does that like Stone. Even, like, I don't know, some of his later efforts, just like, they definitely neuter him in a way where he's not doing crazy things like this anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I think the manic energy of having this like very harsh football critique, but obviously coming from someone who is infatuated with the sport as well, is just like, that's the ultimate perspective you want to have. I feel like from, I don't know, like, or maybe not necessarily always in a sports movie, but it's just something interesting, because like, especially the type of like boomer leftist that Stone is, like, he's definitely a really critical of America guy, but like of that era, where if like a European would say that to him, he's like, no, that's actually, well, Europe's gay. Like, and just like would object to, like, he has that sense of like American exceptionalism still in him, and it's fun to watch those elements butt heads.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Malcolm?
Yeah, I'm gonna give 3.5 bullets. You know, Oliver Stone is America. You know what I mean? That's what you could say. You know, I never get tired of the camera work, because I feel like it is inventive. You know, it's like I mind the length, not like the activity, you know, of the film. Like it is good stuff that Stone's doing too. It's like you can like over move the camera and be over creative with that, and like overstuff that side of a movie. But like, you know, I guess it's like maybe he goes a little overboard. Yeah. But it's like, I really, you know, I really like it. I admire it. And, you know, I feel like Jamie Foxx is also just really good in this movie too.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a really great role of Willie Beeman, and like he's great in it, and he's like the other half of the movie. And like that scene where, you know, he is at Pacino's house while Ben-Hur is playing, like, you know, he does kind of like, I feel like he holds his own against Pacino in those scenes, and like is a good, you know, contrast to the old school ways of Pacino. And, you know, I just I'll bring a little set story. I guess like you know, you're saying like this production was a mess. I guess like Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J like physically fought on set, like they fought each other, and like
let's go.
And like even like during takes, and like I can't really remember what part of this movie this would be, because there's like, you know, 7 trillion things happen in this movie, but like apparently like part of the fight like makes it on to the film, you know what I mean? Like it was like during a take or something like that, and I guess it was purely because like, you know, Jamie Foxx has, you know, he's like a comedian right at the time, and like I don't know if he still is, you know what I mean? I don't want to take that away from him, but yeah, like I guess he would just he kept fucking with LL Cool J during the entire shoot, and like Bill Bellamy kept telling him to like stop it, like, you know, it's gonna go overboard, but you know, I guess that's just the energy of the movie, you know what I mean? I feel like that's why Jamie Foxx is the right role over, I don't know, P. Diddy, you know, comparatively, who almost got the role, because yeah, it's just like, you know, I feel like, I don't know Fox in real life, but it just seems like he's got more of like that football cocky guy energy, you know. I feel like you need that to play this role, and yeah, no, really good movie.
Will, what about you? Any final thoughts and a rating?
I mean, no, I think it really is a 5 out of 5 movie, because I think, like, you know, you don't get much of a chance to like think really deeply about football. And I think Stone, for all of his flaws, he really feels a lot about football, which is shown, like, you know, like at the end when Jamie Foxx is like rushing to be like the fourth guy who dives into the end zone to win the game throughout the movie, which is really cool. There's some poem going on in the background that seemed like maybe like a Native American poem or whatever, and then you have all these, you know, flashes of all this different imagery. You know, as insane as Stone is, he really gives a shit about football, and that's what comes through. And it's just, I think at the end of the day, you know, I think it's evergreen when it comes to football, because football, again, is just like guys being miserable and killing themselves to live up to guys who are also miserable and killing themselves. You know what I mean? And that just, it's cyclical and it never ends. And I think he kind of got there.
Love it. Nate?
I'm going out of 10, and I'm giving it 8.5 in honor of the Jags win total, and I'm taking the over.
Yeah, hammer the over.
Hammer.
I'm going to go 3 on this one. Yeah, I'm also kind of like hit and miss on Stone. You know, some of his stuff like Natural Born Killers, I just cannot get into whatsoever. But then there's stuff like Talk Radio and JFK that I adore, you know. And what I was thinking about in terms of this movie, you know, Showgirls is the obvious great comparison that Nate made, but I was thinking about like where it fits into where we were at in 1999 with movies. And it's kind of like the jock version of Magnolia. Like, it just has objectively too many things going on. Like, or you could say Magnolia is like the drama club kid, the theater kid version of this movie, almost. Where, you know, Magnolia is obviously like overly saccharine and has way too much going on, but there's just so many amazing performances in it, and so many of the key themes of the filmmaker running through it. This is kind of like that in a similar way, where yeah, it's not the best work by either of those guys, but I feel like just the maximalism and the we can't lose pre 9/11 vibes of Hollywood at the time are just so deeply embedded in those films, even if they're deeply depressing and you can lose. But it's when that's what we had to think about, because we didn't have, you know, everything else going on yet for a couple more years. And yeah, so I'm gonna go 3.5 bullets on Any Given Sunday. You know, one of these days, one of these years, you know, years from now, I will watch this movie again at a proper time of the day, or night even, maybe. Like when the sun goes down and I have some caffeine already in me and I'm not taking my first sip of coffee of the day as Al Pacino is getting dubbed over with lion noises in slow motion. So yeah, that is going to do it on Any Given Sunday. Will, Nate, thank you guys for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having us.
A Closer Look's the funniest podcast going. It is like the best thing ever. You guys are in now the 3rd and infinite season of the show. For those who don't know, it is a, you know, fictional kind of a mock doc type series. First season was about baseball, second season about Hollywood, but for the most part you guys do fictional sports stories. Anything you want to tell the people who are listening who may not know about you guys and your show right now?
Season Infinity began. We have the first episode is out free to the public, and then everything past that is Patreon, and then the first 2 seasons we have, 16 episodes, are also still available to the public. So if you want to dive in, honestly, you can kind of dive in anywhere. We work really hard on it. Nate does a lot of voices really well. I do my voice just okay. And yeah, it's a labor of love, and I think you can tell if you listen to it. I don't know. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, we put a ton of work into it. We're cranking out episodes every 2 weeks till the sun dies going forward, as long as people hop in on our Patreon. So go to patreon.com/acloserlook.
And you can also give to our Patreon if you're listening to this because you love Nate and Will so much, and you're like, who are these movie guys talking about movies? Our link's in the description, and you can always email us at extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. We are not going to do an email segment on this episode because we are already past our contractually obligated hour. But thank you so much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
What you listening to? Rap. Anyone I know?
Trick Daddy?
Yeah.
You know him?
Sure. You ever listen to jazz? You know, Coltrane, Monk, Miles Davis, Billie Holiday.
I don't get into the old stuff much.
Well, maybe I'll put together a tape for you.